it is already October. Where has the year gone? But there are still things that you can plant in your garden in October. There's only a little piece of information you need to know. You need to know your first frost date. Just Google first frost date and your zip code or city. If you can find your first freeze date, that'd be great as well, like a hard frost or a freeze. All of these choices, and I've got 14 of them, well, all except for 2. You need to know when your frost date is so you know if you can do these. I'm going to give you the days from seed to harvest for each of these choices. And you just compare that to your frost date, count back to now, and see if you have that many days until your first frost or your first freeze. A lot of these, I'm going to tell you the temperatures they can get down to. Actually, all of them are very cold hardy. So just your frost date isn't going to help here as much because a lot of these can take a frost and keep on going. And even if you get down a little colder than what I say here, you can actually throw some fleece, floating row covers over these crops to protect them that much further and allow them to go even a little bit colder than what I'm about to say. So you have some range in the fall winter garden. Out of all these, the first 2 you can plant right now, no matter how cold it gets pretty much this winter at your house. And both of these, when planted now, give you a jump start, a head start on the growth in spring. Even though they may do nothing visible all winter, they're going to still be faster to get off and take off when it's ready, when they're ready, which is probably sooner than what you might plant them in the spring. You'll get that much of a head start on those, and you won't have to take your time in the spring when it's all ready. There's very little time, right, for extras in the spring. Doing stuff now that you don't have to do then gets you even that much further ahead. So those first 2, the first one is garlic. Right now is a great time to plant garlic for almost anybody. Now here we have a warmer winter climate. I'm in zone 9B, 10A, and we can plant pretty much any time between now and December or even a little bit into early next year. But right now is a great time for almost everybody to plant their garlic. I have a video, I will link it down below on how to do that. If it's already getting really cold where you live, you still can plant garlic. You can plant garlic all the way up until the ground freezes. And I get the question, what if the garlic starts coming up and then the freeze comes? It's okay. They'll pick right back up in the spring when it warms up just a little bit. All right, the next one is potatoes. Potatoes are one of those things that you can plant right now. There's one caveat here. If you have a mild winter climate and you really don't get much frost, you can go ahead and plant them now, and they will grow throughout the next few months, and they'll probably start producing, late winter. If you're in a cold winter climate and you want to get a jump start on spring, wait until maybe a week before your first hard frost. Go ahead and plant your potatoes. Cover them up with a nice layer of mulch, maybe 3 to 4 inches of straw or whatever you have, leaves. Now you might lose a few, just may happen, but the rest that you don't lose will be up and growing strong in the early spring. As soon as the temperatures start going up just a little bit, you're gonna have potatoes starting to poke through the ground. Probably, again, earlier than you would have normally planted them, and you won't have to do it then. The next 12, I'm going to go through fairly quickly. I don't think you need to know the history on each one. Give you a few little pointers, some tips, and definitely days to harvest and the coldest temperature they will tolerate. The first one is beets. Now, beets, most people either love them or hate them. They do have that very strong dirt flavor to me. So apparently, just like cilantro, with cilantro, you're genetically hardwired to think that it either tastes good or tastes like soap. Same thing with beets. You are either genetically hardwired to think it tastes good or to think it tastes like dirt. I'm in the dirt category. Love cilantro though. The darker, the deeper the color of the beet, the more earthy flavor it's going to have. So if you do have that problem with beets like I do, try the lighter colored beets. They have the light pink ones, they have the gold ones. Those are going to have less of that flavor. From seed to harvest, beets will be ready in 60 to 90 days, depending on the variety, depending how big you like them. I like to harvest them when they're about golf ball size. And then they're cold tolerant down to 24 degrees Fahrenheit or -4 Celsius. The next choice is either fava beans or broad beans. They're the same thing, depending on where you're from. You're going to call them Most likely broad beans are going to be in England. In America, we call them fava beans. If you plant them in spring, they're going to take 3 months from seed to harvest. If you plant them now, they're going to take 8 months from seed to harvest. They're cold tolerant down to 14 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 10 Celsius. Number 5 is cabbage. Seed to harvest, 60 to 100 days, depending on the variety. Cabbages in the winter. Now, that's seed to harvest. I'm thinking that's springtime, because when I grow cabbages here, and we have a mild climate, they'll grow all winter, and I won't be harvesting them probably until February, March, sometimes even April. They're very slow growing. It takes a while for them to get their big heads on them. And so I go ahead, and this is a bonus on something you plant now. Certain lettuces, there's all different cold tolerances of lettuces. You want leaf lettuce if you're in a cold winter climate, or even here. I just like my lettuce faster. Cut and come again. I put it all the way around the cabbages, or any of the brassicas really. That way I can double up on bed space and just grow twice as much. And cabbages are cold hardy down to 24 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 4 degrees Celsius. Leeks are a really long growing crop that like the cold. So you plant them now, they're going to grow all the way through the winter. They take 130 days from seed to harvest. They're cold tolerant down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit or 6.5 degrees Celsius. Arugula is one of the coldest tolerant and one of the fastest growing. That's why it's also called rocket, because it takes off and matures so fast. It can be ready to harvest in 30 days, and it's cold tolerant down to 6 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 14 degrees Celsius. Radishes are even quicker than that. Some of them can come in 21 days. They're cold tolerant down to 26 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 3 degrees Celsius. Kale, I hate it. You may love it, but it's gonna be ready for you in about 60 days, and it's cold hardy down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 4 Celsius. So I already mentioned cilantro. So if you love cilantro, that's a quick growing crop, and it loves the cool weather. With any heat at all, it starts to go to seed. You can start harvesting it in 45 days. That's quick. And it is cold tolerant down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 12 degrees Celsius. Another one of the brassicas, broccoli. Same as cabbage, takes a really long time to mature, 80 days, and I think that's pushing it. That's probably another one where it's kind of in the springtime. In the winter, or the fall, I'll plant my broccoli in November, maybe, October, November, and then it will grow and probably start producing in March. It's cold tolerant down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 4 degrees Celsius. Spinach is a pretty quick one too, from seed to harvest, 40 days, and it's cold tolerant down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit or 9.5 Celsius. Now, a lot of these we're talking about greens, except for the cabbage. Usually you harvest a whole head of cabbage, but lettuce, cilantro, kale, and even one coming up, Swiss chard. Those are really a cut and come again, or like with spinach, you can pull off the outer leaves, and as it goes through the season, it just keeps producing more, and you just keep picking off the outer leaves. So you're not going to pick a whole head in that short of time, but you can start harvesting it in that short of time. Another root crop, carrots, 55 to 80 days. I have a video on that too. I have a video on a lot of these things. I'll link those all below. And it's 55 to 80 days because it just depends on if it's a small variety or a large variety. And those are cold tolerant down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, 6.5 degrees Celsius. The last one, I already gave it to you, it's Swiss chard. And again, you can start using the cut and come again, pulling off the outer leaves in about 45 days. It's pretty quick, especially for those big leaves. It's cold tolerant down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 4 degrees Celsius. Those are my choices for October. Let me know in the comments if you guys are still gardening or if you've hung it up for the year. I hope you're still gardening. I really want you to get the enjoyment of a fall garden. Of course, if it's already starting to snow where you live, it's probably out of the question. I am going to be doing some indoor growing this winter. Let me know if you'd like to see videos on that. I'll see you guys next time.